There's certainly a lot of Brexit supporting MPs already in the race. So why should people vote for you?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, we've got to deliver Brexit, which I've always said, and I've been very straight talking about that. And now the 31st of October is the key date, and we're coming out then. And if that means without a deal, then that's what it means. We've got to come out then. Then we've got to build trust with the public, something that we have absolutely broken down. And trust means not just words, it means actions and deeds, and people can see that you're following through. And then we need honesty for a change. This was a polar debate, in or out. Theresa May had tried to please both sides, by which she pleased neither. And now we've got to say, and be fair, we've got to choose a side. The fairest side will be that which won the Democratic vote, the biggest ever, and that is to leave. And at the same time, we've got to do some radical changes immediately. And that is, which I've already said, we've got to put more money into schools. We've got to put more money into police. And that will come, because obviously we've got to live within our means, from the extra amount that has gone in year after year to foreign aid, gone up by nearly 66% when other budgets have been cut. And now we're going to have to say, do you know what? We're going to leave it at high levels at which it was at. However, we've now got to look after people at home, particularly safety on the streets, particularly in school and transport and the NHS. And that is the vision we've got to set out and unite the country and our party.
Okay, so you're happy to raise taxes then? That's a lot of priorities.
No, I've never said I'd be raising taxes.
So how can you fund it? You can't fund it all from international aid, can you?
Well, what's happened, what we've seen from 2010 to 2017, the foreign aid budget went up from 8 billion to now 14 billion, which leaves us with
6 billion then. Is that going to be enough money?
Well, for where we start, which is what I'd do straight away, an extra 4 billion for schools. I believe in social mobility, and the building blocks for success is through a good education. And then we need an extra 3 billion for police, because we need to make sure that we've got a safe environment. I'm standing on a blue-collar conservative platform, and that is for regular people who, do you know what, pay into the system, work hard, but want to know they get something back from the government.
So is that really your differential, if you like? If you look at some of the other people in the race, there's a couple of old Etonians, there's a former Charterhouse public school boy, and you were of course, raised in foster care. Is that where it's all coming from?
Well, there's other things too. Of course, the Tories now have got to reach out beyond their base. We've got to make sure that we're talking to all of the regions and to the north of the country. Now, it's brilliant that the south
is doing
well. Yes, well, we could be doing it far more. We've talked about the Northern Powerhouse. We've now got to make sure that we deliver it. And as a fiercely proud Northerner, I'd be doing that. But it's for the rest of the country. Because it's great that the South is doing well and that London's doing well. That's great. But it's like having a plane with 2 engines, only one is working. We need both engines to work, and then our country can soar. That's what we've got to do, and I would be doing that.
Okay, I'm keen to talk a bit about Brexit. You were just saying there that whatever happens, you would like to see the UK leaving the EU at the end of October, deal or no deal. So are you going to try and renegotiate, or are you actually just going to move to a no-deal position?
What we've got to do straight away, actually, is start preparing. A lot of the preparations have been done. So you're quite right, that date is now fixed. It's not that I'd like to come out on that date or I don't want to. That date is fixed.
Well, you could ask for an extension, couldn't you?
Well, we won't be asking for any more extensions. That's part of the corrosive uncertainty that individuals, business and the country don't want. So that date is fixed. So, of course, we have to say we need to make sure that we're ready to leave on that date. Now, if the EU wants to come back to us, the door is open. If they want to have a better deal, that's fine. We've always wanted a free trade agreement. But what we've got to do is not waste time. Time is limited. We have to make sure that we are ready to leave.
So you wouldn't approach the EU then with a different negotiating strategy? You'd wait to see what they offer, and if they don't offer anything, then you'd move to
Well, they've said quite clearly that they don't want to. They've said that withdrawal agreement is the only one they want. Now, Parliament has made quite clear that they don't want that withdrawal agreement. Biggest ever historical losses on the House 3 times. Not for the first, not once, not twice, and I resigned from government on it. It is a bad deal. We're now in a different position, and that withdrawal agreement boat has sailed. So what we've got to do, the EU doesn't want to move. The UK, therefore, has to be prepared to leave. And as we know, and I'm a unionist, as we know, with no deal, actually there is no backstop. So this is the best thing we can do, prepare for no deal.
Well, let's talk about that. The backstop, of course, is absolutely key. If you were going to leave with no deal, would you be happy to see a border in Ireland? Because that is the reality, isn't it?
No, because we can do an invisible border. So
by October the 31st?
Yes.
How is that going to work?
Because
the contest isn't going to finish till the end of July, then you're in summer recess. I mean,
well, if there's no deal, if we will get real, if there is no deal, we know that the EU ain't going to put up a border. We know that Ireland isn't going to put up a border. There will be no hard border. So we have to make sure that people understand that
the EU have said that there will be a border.
That there'll be an invisible border. And let me explain this. Whilst it
will
be
there'll have to be checks.
Whilst it will be new, the technology already exists to be able to put that in place. And that now is what we need to make sure that we do. And when you're talking about checks, the admin customs declaration is online. And when you talk about a border, there's already a border for currency and VAT. So we know the technology exists. We've already been having meetings in the House on what is possible there. So we know we can go forward and have the invisible border. So there will not be a hard border.
In place by the 31st of October. That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah. That's when we're going to be ready for, and that's when it needs to be ready for. And we need to say to people, this is when we're coming out. As I say, the EU have already said they will not be putting up a border. We know that Ireland have said that. So now we need to make sure that that is what happens. No border.
Okay.
No hard border.
Okay. How do you think Theresa May, of course, stepped down, resigned, announced her resignation that will be coming in 12 days' time? How do you think she'll be remembered?
She'll be remembered for somebody who was very dutiful. She'll be remembered for somebody who picked up that leadership at a time when there was no leadership. David Cameron walked away and the other contenders for the job fell by the wayside. So she, in a dutiful manner, took the lead of the country and went forward.
When you left the government, there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, about you becoming emotional in that last cabinet meeting. You said that you didn't cry. How did you feel when you read all those articles analysing Theresa May's tears this week? Do you think we talk about our female politicians in a different way?
Well, the difference was there wasn't any tears with me, but there were tears with Theresa May. And I think it showed her as a very honest woman at that moment. It was emotional for her. She had done what she thought was the best. She had tried to do, keeping everybody on board. And that's where I think the honesty now has got to come in. You do have to choose a side. She'd always said in a Mansion House speech, you can't have a half in, half out. But despite that you had to choose leave. But I think she was very honest with herself at that moment.
Theresa May once said that the naughtiest thing she'd ever done was running through wheat fields. What's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?
Oh, that's for me to know, and you probably not to.